Fantastic guest to join Sir David this evening as we talk about Freemasonry and service. We'll begin in around 3 or 4 minutes' time. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Solomon Live, our monthly webinar of lively, engaging Freemasonry conversation. My name is Brodie. I'm the Provincial Communications Officer for Worcestershire and also have the privilege of hosting these monthly webinars. And this evening, a very special conversation for you to enjoy. Freemasons and communities, how do we do service? And the importance of service, especially part of everything we're going to be talking about this evening. So we'll begin in around 3 minutes' time. Grab yourself a drink, get yourself comfortable. All good in around 7:30. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Solomon Live. We're back. It's great to be back with you in March after taking just a little break in February. And this evening, a very, very special conversation for you to enjoy. Freemasons and communities, how do we do service? A very special guest back for his third appearance, our Deputy Grand Master, Sir David Wootton. In addition to that, we're also joined by Jamie Watkin, Provincial Grand Almoner of Suffolk, and indeed also Robert Payne as well, Assistant Provincial Grand Master and past Provincial Grand Charity Steward in South Wales. So lots for us to discuss, some great examples of service in operation and how you can get involved in your province or indeed wherever you are across the world. We'll begin in just a moment's time. Good evening, everybody. We're live across the UK. We are live across the world for this evening's Solomon Live. My name is Brodie. I'm the Provincial Communications Officer for the distinguished province of Worcestershire and also the host of these monthly webinars of lively, engaging Freemasonry conversation. And if you would like to put any questions to our very special guest this evening, you can do so via the question and answer facility on your screen. So let's waste no time. We've got lots to discuss. Our topic this evening is Freemasons and communities and how do we do service. So let's welcome our special guest this evening. Evening, brethren.
Good evening.
Good evening, Brodie.
Good evening, Brodie.
Looking splendid, all of you. Looking splendid. Now, we always do a round of introductions before we begin. So, David, I'm not going to ask you to introduce yourself for many reasons, including I'd like my Masonic career to continue as it has been for the last 10 years or so. So perhaps you could tell us your involvement in what we're going to be talking about this evening.
I'm the Deputy Grand Master and traditionally the
charity piece, the relationship between UGLE, Grand Lodge, and charity falls to the Deputy Grand Master, which is why I'm engaged in this. It's wider than charity, as we were discussing, but that's why I'm involved, the traditional role.
Brilliant. Thank you, sir. And Robert, perhaps you could introduce yourself as well.
Certainly. Good evening, Brodie. My name is Robert Payne. I'm the Assistant Provincial Grand Master for the province of South Wales, and formerly I was the Provincial Grand Charity Steward from 2018 to 2022. I have experience in fundraising and working with local charities, and more importantly, communicating this work to brethren across our province and externally as well.
Beautifully explained. And last but certainly not least, Jamie, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about you and why you're joining us here this evening.
Thank you, Brodie, and it's lovely to be here. My name is Jamie Gwatkin. I'm the Provincial Grand Armourer for the province of Suffolk, and as such, I look after the welfare of Freemasons and their families in the province, and also support the Lodge Armourers with my excellent Group Armourer team. But more recently, I've been involved in setting up some volunteering projects, which is why I'm here today, and promoting best practice across the country.
So lots for us all to learn in the next 45 minutes or so. So, Sir David, we'll begin with you. Tell us about the third pillar. How does it fit into the strategy for Freemasonry for 2022 and beyond? How does this all come together?
The strategy has three pillars. One is membership, thriving membership, a lot being done on that. The second one is coherent organisation, making sure the organisation is fit for purpose. The third one is called engagement in our communities. And because of the role I described a minute ago, I'm leading a review of what we do in this area. The strategy is based on four key words, as we know: respect, friendship, integrity, and service. And part of the review is looking at what you might call the vision thing of how service fits into what we do. Two elements. One is, why do we do it? What's the point? Is it to make us feel good? Is it to make us look good? Is it to do good? And the doing good, is that in its own right, in isolation from the other things we do in Masonry? Or is community engagement, the charity, the non-charity side, is that side integral to what we do as Masons, to the extent that if we don't do any of that, we're in some sense incomplete? We're not doing our full job as Masons. Is it to do with recruitment? Is it to do with public perception? Is it to do with building connections between Masonry and other organizations? That's the why. What's the point? The other side of it is, what do we do? What's the balance between giving money, which is the traditional charity thing? Is it about volunteering, time, effort, and skills? And that word service embraces both, which is why charity is not enough of a description, why service is a better word. What's the balance between things we do to benefit Masons and their families and those who are non-Masons? What is the balance between things we do through organised charities and things which we do not through charities, direct engagement in the communities? And there are lots of charities in Masonry. Lodges have charities, provinces and districts around the world have charities. And of course, the biggest one is the MCF, which does a huge amount. In the last year, it gave 4,300 grants to individuals and their families, 12.8 million in total. It gave grants to 451 charities, totaling 7 million. It had important relationships with other national organisations like Age UK, and it runs, of course, 17 care homes with more than 1,000 residents. So that is the big picture stuff, and it goes from there all the way down to lodge-based, very local charities and organisations.
Thanks, David. That's kind of really set us up for the conversation we're going to have in the next 40 minutes or so. So thank you for explaining that. So let's talk about where we are at this stage then. Where are we in the process of getting this organised, if you will?
It's the review is being conducted by a group that is drawn from across Masonry. We've 4 stages. One is the fact-finding stage, collecting together information about what we actually do, because a lot of things are done and we don't know across Masonry what it is we do. So we've been fact-finding, collecting information. That process is coming to an end now, and we're moving over the next 2 or 3 months to what I'm going to call a consultation stage, where we'll be going out to Masons across the world, across usually England, Wales, and across the provinces and across our districts, to collect views, because our community engagement isn't done. Some of it is, but most of it is not done by the leaders. Most of it is done by keen individuals in lodges and chapters around the world. So we'll be collecting views in the summer, distilling views, and then in the autumn coming back with some recommendations, some expression of the vision thing, the points, the why, what's the point that I talked about earlier, and some tools for how we can do it better.
Brilliantly explained again. So let's talk about how a brother or companion can get involved in this. So in other words, what impact would this have on perhaps somebody watching now?
There will, in this conversation, be some examples of practical examples of how it can be done. The review will lead to sharing of best practice and to very practical ways drawn from examples across Masonry of how brethren can get involved either individually or through their lodges or provinces, by joining in what's already been done or making their own suggestions.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the best ideas come from individual Masons spotting an opportunity and suggesting it to others in their lodges and chapters.
Okay, so we'll get back to you in just a moment, Sir David. Thank you for explaining that as well, how we can all get involved in that, and the benefit to us as individuals as well. But Jamie, let's bring you into this as well. Let's talk about volunteering, and you did touch on this earlier on as well. Tell me about your partnership with the Not Forgotten charity, because there's a benchmark here, and there's lots for us all to learn from the work that you do. So tell us about that.
Yes, so as the Provincial Grand Armourer, I identified during lockdown that military veterans were being neglected and were being isolated at home. So I realised that I needed to do something for that community. So I approached the past Provincial Grand Master, now Ian Yeldon, and asked for his support to do something in that regard. And he and our now current Provincial Grand Master, Jolyon Berry, were very keen to promote that. So we first of all signed the Armed Forces Covenant in 2022. But what I didn't want just a piece of paper and nothing more. So I went out and I actually found the Not Forgotten charity, which have been supporting veterans for 105 years.
Wow.
And they have royal patronage, and they have all the core values that we have, which is integrity, respect, service, and friendship. And therefore, I felt that forming a partnership with that charity was something that would actually benefit Freemasons and also the military veterans. And we established the Military Veterans Day. So what we did is we actually developed something called a drive-in garden party, where
Drive-in garden party. Wow.
So really what we're doing is we formed a partnership where we have the Freemasons put together an element of the day, which is that we find the venue, which is normally a stately home and is normally provided by the owners free of charge. We provide between 20 and 30 volunteers, which normally come from military charities, so that they're happy to donate one day of their time, 8 hours, and we provide the match funding for the day, which is £6,000, but half of that is match funded from the MCF. So actually, a province only needs to put in £3,000
Right.
to run a day.
Yeah.
And we ran a test pilot in 2023 at Euston Estate. We had 100 veterans plus 120 helpers, and they had a fantastic day. And the Not Forgotten charity provided all the entertainment, they provided all the catering, they provided all the booking, so I didn't have to manage all of that. And all I needed to do is manage the teams for the day and just welcome all of the veterans, including Masonic veterans. So, you know, we had it in for our Masonic brethren as well, and they had a fantastic day.
Oh, that's lovely. And what partnerships, by doing this and working closely with the charity, what partnerships have you developed with perhaps other organisations that maybe you wouldn't have done before?
Yeah, well,
Because it brought you closer.
Yeah, what we did is actually we invited the Lord Lieutenant to come along, because actually the Veterans Day was held on outside her house. So she brought herself and a deputy, and that has drawn us closer to the Lord Lieutenant's office in Suffolk. And as a result of that, we were also approached by Suffolk County Council to join their resilience forum. So Freemasons are now embedded in Suffolk County Council, and we're now going to be part of the volunteering element. If there was a catastrophe and a rebuilding needed to happen, we as Freemasons would be part of that initiative.
Brilliant. So would you say then, would you concur that your work with the charity has indeed brought you closer to those organisations?
Very much so. I don't think we would have got into those organisations without doing the volunteering that we did initially with the veterans. And that has now been rolled out across the country. So we had one last year. We hopefully are going to have 5 this year. And the Not Forgotten charity want to build us into their long-term plan and want us to do 10 a year in the future if the provinces want to do that. So yeah, that's a great advert, I think, for where we need to go in the future.
Now, Adam, we've got your question coming up in just a moment, but one more question to you, Jamie, just for now. If your story and your work with the Not Forgotten charity has inspired anyone watching us across the provinces, indeed the districts as well, what can they do to maybe emulate what you've done, your success?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a blueprint. So nobody needs to put a lot of effort into this. So if they want to replicate what I've done in Suffolk for the veterans, then all they need to do is contact me. I am the conduit with the Not Forgotten charity. I'll give them the blueprint. If they find the venue, then we can just roll it out together.
Great example of service right there. Making people feel good who support, and of course the beneficiaries as well. Now, Adam, thank you for getting in touch with us, brethren, and ladies and gentlemen, you can do the same as well via your question and answer facility. Adam says, does UGLE know one of the most common community engagement activities for UK Masons? So, David, do you know the answer to that?
No, I'd be interested to know whether Adam does.
Yeah, we'll find that out for you eventually, Adam. But that's a really good question. What about you, Brett? Any ideas what that might be from your work?
Well, during COVID, a lot of people in Suffolk helped with all of the vaccination programs and everything else. So I think that was specifically one good example during COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah,
there are lots of examples. There is probably no one that is the leader. There's such a huge variety.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Adam. Thank you for getting in touch with us. So let's welcome you to the show, Rob. Thank you for sitting there so patient. So let's talk about charity then now, and tell me your experience of being a provincial charity steward. What were the issues that you identified in well, we'll talk about service, bringing that together.
Yeah, sure. Well, we did a review early on when I was appointed as a provincial charity steward. And one of the things that we identified was that as a fraternity, we've always been excellent at providing financial support to both local and national charities. But one of the things that we felt there was certainly room for improvement on how we communicate this support and the outcome of the support to our members. Of course, it's their money. And if you explain to a brother or a companion where and how their money is being spent and the impact on those that are less fortunate and requiring support from those charities, it can lead to great things. As Sir David said, it can make you feel good by donating time and money towards a worthwhile charity. One of the things that we then wanted to do was to get out to those charities and actually find out how our money was being spent, and really see firsthand the great work that was going on within numerous charities. And by communicating that back to our members was just a good news story all round. One of the side benefits, of course, was it ensured that there was accountability by the charities, that we weren't just giving them money and it was perhaps not being put to good use. So all in all, by communication was key, I think, to ensuring that we had good success within engaging with charities.
So that's good. So communication is always the key to be successful in anything you're doing, especially in Freemasonry. But what else did you do? What other examples did you do to tackle some of those issues you've mentioned?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, one of the things that we tried to start with was we invited 8 of the hospices that were within our province, which we'd supported for many, many years, into a luncheon that we held in one of our centres. We did it, first of all, in Cardiff. So we could actually meet the charities firsthand. And then what we did then was we invited charity stewards and almoners, various members of the province along. So we had a member of the charity sat by a Freemason, for want of a better term. And we were able to, they were able to talk to us about Freemasonry and find out what we did. And we were able to talk to them about what went on, and the support they give with their hospices. We then realized then, certainly in a province of our size with circa 5,000 members, it becomes difficult to communicate that quickly and effectively to each of our members. And we were very fortunate in that we had a brother within our province, Brother Richard Beecher, who is a professional digital media expert, and he kindly volunteered his services to provide and make short films for us.
Oh, brilliant.
So we were able to go out and visit numerous charities, explain to our members very quickly. The idea was to create a small 2-minute film, which really got into the charity, found out the great work that they did, found out how they spent our money. And actually, we were able to meet some of the recipients of certain charities and really see firsthand the impact that the service that we'd provided had benefited those individuals.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is you're very lucky to have a brother with that level of skill set. I wish we all did across the UK, to be brutally honest about it. So we talked about those videos. Where did they go? So they've been recorded. What did you do with them? How distributed is the term? Yeah,
sure. And that in itself is a challenge because, of course, we've got a very wide demographic of members. We got members that are over 100, and we've got members that are 18 years of age. So, of course, what we tried to do is to communicate, via all mediums. So our films generally are uploaded to, we've created a provincial YouTube channel. So that's our sort of starting point. We upload them to there. And then from that, then we can share them either to our website. We can then obviously link those to the charity's website, which get us further coverage. We also then use social media. So, we would put them on our Facebook pages, on X, on Instagram. And also what we would be doing is we would be including them within email communications as well. So for brethren that maybe aren't on social media, they like an email dropping into their inbox, they could, of course, click on the link and follow it through. So we try to really cover, all bases to ensure that, of course, these links with the charities and the messages were getting through to all the brethren. And equally, we have a hard copy provincial magazine, which is available electronically and, of course, in print for those that really don't want to engage at all with anything electronic. So we've tried really to touch on all areas of communication, and that's really how we've distributed really our films and our images and the story to all our members.
Thanks so much, Rob. And before we get back to Sir David, similar question to what I asked Jamie, really. If anybody watching this now, wherever they are in the country or indeed across the world, would like to follow suit and perhaps take on board some of those examples, what should they do? What would you recommend?
Yeah, sure. I think the key thing and what made the biggest difference for us was actually, going out to visit the charities firsthand. I was, astounded by the response that, charities were, really welcoming for us to go and visit them at their, premises and for us to show interest in what they do. They really enjoyed telling us about the great work that they do, and that linked in nicely then with the support, whether it be financial or service that we provided. So I think that was the key thing, is that the more you can get out to the community to visit these charities and good causes, the better. And it forges links, which we've had now for many years. And it's not really then a one-off transaction. It tends to be a partnership, which I think is the key.
Yeah. That is the key. That is the key. Partnership, isn't it? Working with other organisations as well, and also following up the message. We have donated some money. What happened to it, and how was it spent? And some of those wonderful stories that can come from that. Now, Sir David, we have many people watching, indeed, from all over the world. We often highlight that. Good evening, brethren, wherever you might be. So it's really quite important, isn't it, for us to remind anybody watching that service applies to our districts across the world as well. So you and I were talking briefly, I remember last week, about a great example of Fiji and helping. Was it a homeless charity?
Yes, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. And we have a large number of brethren in what outside England and Wales is called the English Constitution, arranged in our districts across the world. And our districts are an integral part of Masonry. All members are equal wherever they are, and we can draw in this country, in England and Wales, where I'm sitting, benefits from the experience in our district. Two examples. The one you refer to in Fiji is one of deployment of skills, where the brethren in Fiji were supporting the building of a new home being run by an organisation to provide temporary accommodation for young people who, for a variety of reasons, were homeless. There was a problem with the contracted builders, and something needed to be done to move the construction on quickly. So the brethren got together, those with construction skills, and did it themselves. A real practical example of volunteering. I'm going to give you another one of a different nature from Cape Town in South Africa, where the brethren of Cape Town gave 2 cars to the Cape Town Society for the Blind, and showing the range of possibilities. They're very imaginative, and both cars had writing on them, and at the front there was a reference to this car is driven by a blind person. Well, of course, it wasn't literally, but that got the attention. And then halfway down the car, it referred to the Cape Town Society of the Blind. And at the back, there was wording given by the Freemasons of South Africa. So that was doing good in a financial sense. That was giving money rather than time and effort. But both were contributions by our districts to the communities in which they sit. And very good examples too.
Absolutely superb. So let's put this to all 3 of you now. So Rob, Jamie, and you, Sir David, as well. We've discovered the work that you do, Jamie, and the work that you do, Rob, and what you've learned, and the lessons that we can all share as well. What do you think we can do better as Freemasons when it comes to service? Jamie, back to you.
Yeah, I think it is important that we can promote ourselves and come out from where we have been in the dark previously, to tell everybody that actually we are a force for good and that what we stand for. And I think that if we do that, then that will set up an opportunity for potential recruitment in the future, and for people not to be so blinded by Freemasonry. And I think that that could be for benefit for the organisation in the long term.
Thank you. And same to you as well. Rob, what do you think we can do better as Freemasons?
Yes, I agree with exactly what Jamie said, in that I think it's all about engagement, and us visiting charities wherever they may be, and equally on the reverse, bringing those charities into our Masonic buildings. And I think it works two ways, and we've seen a great deal of benefit from doing that, forging relationships which will last for many, many years.
And you, Sir David, what do you think? I mean, things we can all do better as Freemasons to bring service closer to our hearts.
I think we can be more confident in talking to other parts of the community, other institutions, other charities, local authorities, national authorities, institutions big and small, and making more use of the skills. You heard from the examples which have been given in this conversation of some of the skills that Masons have, a wide range of skills. Masonry brings together, draws from every part of the community, and they all have skills to be deployed, making better use of our assets. The prime asset we have is the physical one of our halls, which we should use more as community assets, inviting people in, as Rob just said, but also being more confident in going out and teaming up with other organisations, or just with individuals in need. It could be something where there's direct help, or it could be just an occasion which, yes, may raise a little bit of money, but is an activity which just draws attention to Masons out there in the community.
Yes, absolutely. Now let's go back to the chat screen now. And Steve Byrne has been in touch. He says, Brother Steve Byrne from Guernsey, I run the GSPCA, and we had many brethren help with a puffin parade, which was 60 giant puffins placed around the island, which were auctioned off and raised over 140,000 for the GSPCA and Autism Guernsey, which was amazing fun for all involved, because that's an important thing with all of this. Whatever we're talking about, it's got to be fun for us to do as well. So his question, what's the most enjoyable activity you've been involved with or you've heard of when it comes to service? So brethren, putting you on the spot with this one, of course, which is what we like to do on Solomon Live. What about you, Jamie? Any great examples of having fun and service?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I ran the Drive-In Veterans Day last year, we had conversations with veterans who had lots of experience with, obviously, their war and their military careers, and they wanted to tell you stories. And the heartwarming reception that I got going around and just speaking to people on that day, I came away and I said that was one of the best 8 hours I've ever spent. And to see their faces glow at the end of the day and say to me that they had a tremendous time, well, that was something that you can't buy.
Oh, no, it absolutely is, isn't it? It's priceless. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I think one of the most enjoyable sort of engagements that I've had recently was back last summer, when we as a province donated an exhibition vehicle to Prostrate Cymru. And we went down to do the short film to pass on the message to our brethren, and it wasn't the best of days in the Asda car park, but I ended up being on the stand and helping out in encouraging people to come in and explain to them the reasons why they needed to seek a prostate test from their GP. So yeah, that was fun as well as engaging.
Oh, fantastic. So there you go, Steve. A couple of great examples there. And Sir David, this is an interesting question as well, isn't it? We have Freemasons watching, non-Freemasons as well. But do you think service, and of course we're talking about Freemasons and communities and how do we do service, do you think service can help us understand our ritual a little bit more?
Yes, there are any number of references in the ritual to, in various forms of words, our obligation as Masons to relieve the distress of others. In the initiation ceremony, there's a very moving bit about charity, about drawing the initiate's attention to our obligation to relieve the sufferings of others through charity. And there are lots of other references as well. So you can legitimately say that what we do in the community, the kind of activities we've been talking about, are living out in real terms the words of those parts of our ritual. Some of the rituals we know is inward looking, just about how we conduct ourselves. It's also about how we conduct ourselves in relation to other Masons. But a big bit of it is how we conduct ourselves in relation to those who are not Masons, the community as a whole. So what we do in this third pillar, what we do, charity or non-charity, in our engagement with the community, is living out what is in the Masonic ritual. So it's all the same thing. It's all one.
Absolutely. Here. Now, what I thought we could do now is talk about the benefits to Freemasons and what's the payback for volunteering or service. As we've discussed, we're quite well known for putting our hands in our own pockets and helping support charities. But we're talking about volunteering specifically now. What are the benefits to a brother, Jamie?
Well, the benefits from the project that I've been running is that the volunteers that have attended on the day have had a tremendous day, like I have had. If they're linked to the military, they understand exactly the audience that they're speaking to, and I can tell you that all of the military volunteers that turned up last year are going to turn up again this year. So they've had a good day. In terms of the province, by interacting with the Not Forgotten, we have an opportunity to actually sign up to the silver standard of the Armed Forces Covenant if we want to, and the Not Forgotten will sponsor that application for the silver standard. And also it obviously widens the network with the Lord Lieutenant's office, the county council, and provides a recruitment opportunity as well. So I think that it is given a tremendous boost to what we do in Suffolk.
Absolutely, and it's a win-win situation, isn't it? And so, a question for you as well, Rob, as well. We're talking about the benefits to people offering their time. So important that we make our donations, of course, if you can afford it. But volunteering, what benefits have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we did to stimulate service in terms of time and activities is we had a provincial charity awards evening. We held it in our local RMBI home, and what we did was create an audience of all our lodge and chapter charity stewards. So we invited, we had around 100 charity stewards as the audience. And then what we did, we invited 8 of the charities who we'd supported over the previous 12 months along to receive a certificate, the opportunity for them to provide some information really on what their charity did, who they support, and equally how we could assist them. And equally at the same time, of course, they would be elaborating on who had benefited from the funds that would have been offered to them by way of a grant. We kept it lighthearted. So each charity really was on stage probably for circa 5 minutes, but it kept it moving, and it was a very rewarding evening. And one of the things that we found was, whilst it was of great benefit to us and the charity stewards in terms of carrying the messages back to the lodges and chapters, the charities actually got a lot out of it by chatting to other charities on how they had been helped by us, and how fun, because ultimately charities have to fundraise they're all going for the same pool of money, or the same pool of time. So we just found it a very rewarding evening, and they got a lot by sharing ideas amongst the charities, and made good connections, which I know lots of them are still in touch with each other, today and moving forwards.
Sounds like the perfect event, actually. And going back to that fun word, everybody had a great time to boot as well. And back to you as well, Sir David. So obviously we're talking about the benefits to Freemasons, and what's the payback for volunteering? Some of the stories that you've experienced travelling around the Constitution.
Well, what we do know is there's no payback in a money sense. There's no financial
Yes.
reward, and brethren may or may not get recognition. They may or may not receive expressions of gratitude. We hope they do from the beneficiary or otherwise. But when, for example, student brethren in the University of Liverpool Lodge went out onto the streets of Liverpool during COVID to work actively with the homeless, something that required quite a lot of courage, actually, they did get some recognition. I've just given it to them, but I'm not the first to do that. So recognition is one form of reward. The second is you get more out of your masonry, because your Masonic experience is much more complete. You also, I think, get to understand more about what it is to be a Mason. Why do we join? Why do we become Masons? What does it bring for us, and why do we remain Masons? So getting more out of it, understanding, and as been mentioned before, with any luck, you have a lot of fun doing it.
Absolutely. Brilliant. And back to the chat screen, back to the question and answers. And Michael Hooper, good evening, Michael. Hope you're keeping well. He says, as a result of being more open and involving ourselves in these activities of service, are we finding there are more potential candidates coming forward? Perhaps you'd like to take that one, Sir David.
Well, I can give you an example of very experienced, long-standing Mason. We were talking about where this community thing fits in, and he did actually say, I didn't join Masonry to do charity. Now, literally, that is probably correct. He didn't join it because of that. Now, of course, he does do a lot, though that comment illustrates what you might call a little bit of generational change.
Yes.
That as time has gone on, younger people have been more interested in the word openness was used a few seconds ago, more interested in what we do, not just within Masonry, but across the community. So although we don't do community engagements to recruit in circumstances that's the only reason for doing it, we do it because it's a part of complete Masonry. But there's no doubt at all that is making us more attractive to younger people, because it makes us more relevant. We can be seen to be making more of a contribution to the communities in which we sit.
And Rob, when you've seen service and charity in action, have you noticed many comments from perhaps those who aren't Freemasons who would like to find out more about the great work we do in our organisation?
Yes, certainly. When we've posted our short films, we've had lots of inquiries, via social media to find out more about our organisation. I think by, service, charity, people see the good and the value that we can add in the communities and actually want to be part of that, or part of an organization where that is, a key component. So we've had a lot of interest, certainly when, we run or show our sort of experiences that we've had within the communities and the charities. We notice that we do get inquiries then regarding membership and people wanting to know more about our organization. So I certainly think it's certainly a conversation starter, if anything.
And same question to you, Jamie. So David alluded to this. Service and charity is not the number one reason why people become Freemasons, but it's certainly wonderful for people who are not Masons to see that in action. Have you noticed any conversations that have come up after that?
Yeah, I mean, it's listening to Robert and to David. The first meeting I went to with the Suffolk Resilience Forum, in the coffee break, having done the presentation to the forum about what we were all about, we got a new recruit. So this guy from Felixstowe Inshore Lifeboat came up and he said, "This is an organisation I need to be part of." And he said, "Could you put me in touch with a local lodge?" So just from making presentations and talking about what we do, it does spread the word, and it does open the conversation to making sure that we develop our organisation going forward.
Beautifully explained. Thank you, Jamie. And here's a bit of advice sought before we move into the final few minutes. Adam Parsons, he sent this a little bit earlier on. He says, what can we do when charities or perhaps churches refuse our donations all time or our offers of help? Luckily, it doesn't happen too often, but it occasionally happens. Brethren, who wants to take that one on in case you'd like to help Adam with that question?
Shall I have a go?
Yeah.
Yep.
First of all, my advice usually is don't try and tackle the organisation in question. It could be the vicar, could be a professor or vice chancellor at a university. Little point in trying to tackle it head on and argue them out of it. That usually just entrenches the situation. My advice is to find ways through examples from what we've been talking about of doing things that are good in the community and finding ways of drawing them to the attention of the person or persons who won't deal with us, so that they are invited by others who do see the merits of what we're doing to change their minds. We are not, in most cases, we're not going to change their mind by direct argument, but showing by what we do of relevance and benefit to the community and making sure that comes to their attention, others might change their minds for them.
Great question, Adam. Superb question. Sir, thank you very much indeed for answering that. So looking at the time, we've got time for just one more question. And so David, if that's okay, you can have this. What are the future plans then for the third pillar review, specifically service generally? So where do we go from here?
Where we go from here is that we will be consulting widely among the brethren, both here in the provinces, England and Wales, and in the districts around the world, as to people's thoughts on that question. And then we will be bringing it together later in the year so that we do it better. We have greater focus, greater balance between Masonic and non-Masonic, charitable and community, and we have better decision making, a better control, if you like, about what we give and what we do and what the result is, so that there's more impact, more effectiveness, better value, you might put it this way, for whether it's time, effort, skills, or money. And that will benefit those we are benefiting and also benefit us in the way we have described. So literally where we go is there'll be widespread consultation in the next few months and then something positive in the autumn.
Brilliant. So David, Robert Payne, Jamie Grotkin, have you enjoyed your Solomon Live experience?
Yes.
Yes.
Answer yes. Yeah, it's been a good chat.
Yes, absolutely, Brody. Thank you.
Been a good
Oh,
chat.
it's been absolutely brilliant, and I say this every month as well. It goes in the blink of an eye. It really does. Brethren, thank you ever so much indeed, ladies and gentlemen, for your questions. Typical fashion, we can never get through them all, but thank you so much for contributing to our show. So, what comes next? Well, our next Solomon Live will be Tuesday, the 9th of April, where our topic will be Discover More in the Royal Arch. We'll be discussing Archway and how chapters are starting to use it and embrace it. And joining us will be Mike Ricks, Elliot Chevin, and also Paul Renton. So please put that in your diary, but we're not going to let you forget that date. It's Tuesday, the 9th of April, 2024, and we're live at 7:30 UK time, of course. And if you haven't done so already, please register for Solomon. You'll find us at solomon.ujle.org.uk, full of useful and fantastic content for your daily advancement in Masonic knowledge. Until then, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Stay safe, and we'll see you back here next month. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.